17. Scariest images from our dark past. But first, thanks Puma Bear for leaving us this comment. We appreciate all our new subscribers. Be sure to tune in every day for new great videos. Number 17. All in the Family. Followers of Charles Manson were brainwashed by his philosophies and outlook on life. He gained so much control over his closest members that he commanded them to kill, and they listened. Here we see the women who participated in the Sharon Tate murder arriving to court with their heads shaved and an eerie smirk on their faces. Number 16. Edward Paisnell. Also known as the Beast of Jersey, this notorious sex offender terrorized people on the island of Jersey, which is located in the English Channel. This feared criminal would enter unsuspecting victims' homes and wear this bizarre-looking rubber mask. It almost looked like the skin of someone's face he ripped off, but that wasn't the case. Imagine waking up and seeing this horrifying evil man in the night. Number 15. ShellShocked Soldier. Imagine waking up every day to the sound of guns and bombs as your alarm clock, watching over your shoulder in a state of constant paranoia that you might be the next soldier to lose their life. Being shell-shocked often refers to the psychological disturbances to warfare, especially while being under constant bombardment. This photo was taken during World War I of one of the soldiers who was beginning to lose his sanity in one of the worst wars in history. Number 14. Japanese internment camps. Due to the uncertainty of who was a spy and who wasn't during World War II, the U.S. operated what was known as internment camps. Many Americans with Japanese ancestry were forced to relocate to these places that were directly ordered by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, not long after the attack of Pearl Harbor. It was here where they attempted to assimilate Japanese citizens by having them participate in sports like baseball and pledge allegiance to our flag. The conditions weren't perfect by any means, and diseases would spread rather quickly, but fearing a full-scale attack by the Japanese on the West Coast, many Americans supported this form of detainment. Number 13. Nuclear shadows. After atomic bombs were detonated over the cities of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. The intense blast that went off bleached the area surrounding people's shadows, so the area around them becomes brighter, while the ground where the shadow is stays the same color. These ones you see here are found in Nagasaki. Number 12. The vintage chair. This photo was taken of a notorious German-born criminal, Bruno Hauptmann, the day of his execution by electric chair. He was arrested in 1934 for the kidnapping and murder of a child and demanded $5,000 ransom for the return. He became the most hated man in the world and was executed in 1936. This photo captures the executioners preparing for his demise, despite him pleading his innocence as his last words. Number 11. Mummy Salesman. The popularity of mummies in Egyptology was at an all-time high in the 1870s. Many people believed that crushed-up mummies was some kind of cure for ailments, especially for arthritis. Although not everyone would like to admit it, there were a large number of cannibals in Europe due to this practice. This man in Egypt was hoping to make a quick buck by selling the corpse of an ancient Egyptian. Number 10. The Muse Brothers. The Muse Brothers were both albino despite their African roots, and treated as some kind of sideshow attraction in the past. They were both kidnapped from their homes in Virginia and given new names, Echo and Eco. Sometimes they were referred to as the cannibalistic ambassadors from Mars, and in some cases from Ecuador. The brothers eventually got used to the lifestyle and signed a deal with the Ringling Brothers. 28 years later, as the boys began gaining fame, they were recognized by their mother due to their rare condition. Number 9. Mademoiselle Blanche Monier. This is a real photo of Mademoiselle Blanche Monier, who had been held captive in her room for 25 years. Her mother had locked her in her room because her mother didn't think the guy she was dating was aristocratic enough, and you thought your parents were bad. The photo was captured at a hospital in her deplorable physical condition. Workers there noticed she appreciated the fresh air and being able to take a bath, but despised sunlight. Even after all this, she never once regretted her true love. Number 8. Where's home? Could anyone possibly come out normal after being raised in an uncompassionate environment? Story has it that this young child grew up in a concentration camp and was being held at a mental hospital in Poland after witnessing the atrocities of the Holocaust. When asked by hospital workers to draw a picture of home, what she drew was shocking. She might not even know what home is anymore and just scribbled on the chalkboard. It's clear that the horrors of the concentration camp have warped her fragile mind. Number 7. Gas mask from the past. During World War II, the citizens of the United States were quite worried about biological or chemical warfare attacks on their own soil. Here in this photo, we see a child wearing a Mickey Mouse gas mask. Parents tried to hide the true darkness behind these masks, and thought this would be more of a fun way for their kids to be protected against chemical warfare. Number 6. The Final Strike. This eerie image of the French death device known as the guillotine was actually used to perform executions until 1977 by slicing off the head. This photo here displays the moments leading up to the final public execution by the guillotine in 1939. This was performed on the outskirts of Paris in front of roughly 100 spectators. The German murderer who received the ultimate punishment was given the nickname of the Teutonic Vampire. This was apparently the last public execution in France because the crowd had become too bloodthirsty and began cheering, whistling, almost as if it was some type of spectacle. Number 5. Elephant-mounted machine gun. During World War I, militaries were often looking for any possible way to gain an advantage over the enemy. Tanks at that time were still relatively slow and didn't really do much damage. In this photo, we see an American soldier aim a Colt M1895 machine gun atop a Sri Lankan elephant. Elephants have been used as transportation in battle as far back as the Punic Wars. But considering how rare these animals are, and how close a machine gun would be firing over its head and ears, by today's standards, we would definitely see this as cruel treatment of animals. Number 4. Firing Squad. World War II was one of the darkest periods of human history, with many lives needlessly ended. In this photo, we see an example of psychological torture, where this member of the French resistance is placed at the corner of a building, with 9 German soldiers pointing at them with their rifles. The French resistance fighter was simply laughing at them the entire time. The Nazis were hoping he'd be frightened enough to give up secrets, but they weren't actually planning on shooting him the entire time. Number 3. The Urban Druid. There's much speculation on what this photo was meant to represent. Many have believed it was a person dressed up like a druid who was performing sorcery, but that isn't the case. Although the person was dressed up like a druid, that's not what this photo is about. This was actually a part of an environmental protest in Amsterdam, taken in the 1960s. The creativity of the outfit, however, is quite frightening. Number 2. Grace McDaniels. Sideshows around the US were popular attractions, where many people would pay to see people with deformities. They would actually come up with cruel, false nicknames, comparing people to animals. This woman we see here was named Grace McDaniels, but while working for the circus, she went by the name of Mule-Faced Woman. She suffered from a parasitic disease known as elephantitis that affected her lips. She eventually had a kid, fathered by a carnival worker, but her son was anything but supportive. He was often found mocking her for her disease and basically controlled her life. And number 1, the ruins of Dresden. In an effort to completely eradicate all traces of Nazis in the city of Dresden, hundreds of bomber planes completely reduced the town to rubble, using more than 1,100 tons of incendiary bombs on the city. They created a massive firestorm in the process, killing thousands of civilians. It's estimated that anywhere from 35,000 to 135,000 died. The firebombs left very few buildings undamaged, and over 90% of the city center was destroyed. Many have casted doubt on whether or not this was necessary, and many feel like it was a war crime, especially since the bombing failed to hit any military facilities.